Alright, we're live. Professor live.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Everybody listening in, tuning in to the Skyway podcast. It is your hosts, Raymond Shee and Brandon Nguyen. And today we are back with another episode. This one is a more personal one, no guests. It's kind of an interim episode between our expected talks with PJ and Renvir, where we will be talking about identity, growth, and metaphysics.
Metaphysics.
Yep.
Alright. So this interim episode will be short, hopefully, and it's just going to be two questions. It's just because to just kind of reflect, but also to, I don't know, we'll just see where this conversation goes.
Yeah, because the structure of the podcast essentially is before each podcast we think of a few questions and then the goal of the podcast is to answer them. So,
Alright, okay. So, starting off with the first one.
yeah.
It's a heavy one. Do you think humans are automata or no?
Okay, how about you I'll leap in later. Could you elaborate on your views on this and then I'll say mine.
I think I'm like in the hard automata camp. I think there's like no free will. And there's also like no such thing as like a sense of self. Yeah.
There's no such thing as a sense of self. Well, obviously there is such thing as a sense of self because right now I assume you're experiencing a sense of self,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
obviously it exists. So
Yeah,
what do you
yeah,
mean
yeah.
what do you mean by you don't believe in the sense of self?
I just think that any volition that you have or like willpower is like an illusion. Like
I see.
willpower is an
But
illusion.
what would imply something that would be like a real willpower? You know, like if our willpower is an illusion, what makes it an illusion? What would make it not an illusion?
What would make it not an illusion?
Yeah, because obviously we have concepts of willpower and whatever, and to claim that they're illusions, like what is the implication of it being an illusion? Why is
I
it a
think true willpower, it can't exist in this material body because this material body will always be at the whim of like material forces and stuff like gravity, which just acts without our control. Like electric currents act without our control, and that's also a limitation of like this body. And like gravity acts out of our control. It acts like automatically. It's both a limitation on our consciousness as well as like what gives it consciousness as well. So I don't know. It have to be in like a system that isn't inherently limiting, I guess.
why is um why is having willpower and existing purely as material forces, existing under the whims of the forces of the universe? Why are those contradictory?
Well, I think they're contradictory because our subjective experience is always at the whim of materialism, and material objects just interact with each other arbitrarily, separate from human interactions, like planets colliding with each other. They just both obey gravity, right? They don't like sentiently seek out each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
So
So in the same way, our sentience or willpower to do something is more so just like a leaf going through like a river, like it's just following the
yeah, it's following the
it's
program. Yeah,
it's following the forces of nature. So you're saying, would you say that at the conception of the universe, um, if you were to conceive the universe exactly as it was originally conceived, we would be having this conversation right now if the whole universe was destroyed and then rebuilt in the same exact way?
like what do you mean by that?
Like, um, do you think everything was set in motion since the creation of the universe? Is what I'm trying to say.
I think
Like, did we ever really have a choice to have this conversation, or is just that was what was set in motion based off of the formation of the universe?
I think like in terms of just like the programs of like gravity and whatnot, it's inevitable. Like this conversation was going to take place, but like functionally, there are so many different outcomes that coincidence is created because of like the possibilities that there could be other universes where this doesn't take place, if you
Yeah,
know.
but if you were like a god-like being who could masterfully recreate all of the forces, all of the like energy and where each molecule was placed
Oh,
during the conception of the universe, I would be able to
you like
just view.
set like
Yeah,
a Big Bang like parameters that end
exactly.
up.
Like
Yeah,
exactly. So I'm an omnipotent being that exists separate from the universe,
yeah,
and I can simulate or create or make happen. Not like any of those are really different things if you just think about it on a universal scale. But at the conception of the universe, I have some knobs and dials, and this thing has perfect control of the conception of the universe.
hmm.
And I have perfect sense of the uh, parameters that surround the conception of the universe.
Yeah.
With these powers, I would be able to, um, at this exact moment of time, um, with both of us having the exact same conversation,
Hmm.
like there was no way for us to not do it. Like
Yeah.
if
Like
at the
you
conception of the universe, can you do if you did that? Do you think it's possible if you're an omnipotent being to at the conception of the universe literally predict every single thing that was going to happen?
mm, so if you like manipulate the Big Bang parameters just a little, you can get any outcome you want.
I mean, yeah, I guess within the parameters of like
Yeah.
how the universe is metaphysically structured. Um, but if you were to, so let's say I'm an omniscient being who understands every single parameter of the conception of the universe.
Yeah.
Based off of that, could I have a giant blackboard and then math out every single thing that was going to happen from the start of the universe to the end of the universe?
Hmm. I think so. If you were omnipotent like that and had control over like quantum physics and stuff, and just like because that's like the main conflicting thing. It's just like variations that seem random, I guess, in like the processing of the universe.
Do you
Those
think
would
that,
be yeah, yeah,
okay, I understand what you're saying. You're saying like quantum physics is also a truly random thing that
yeah, yeah,
like unlike many things where if we know every single if you have perfect information, we can perfectly predict what's going
yeah,
to
yeah.
happen. Quantum mechanics or quantum physics is something that doesn't conform to that kind of predictive model.
Hmm.
So, do you think that the random nature of quantum particles is relevant at all to how random your life is?
I mean, it has to affect our lives because it's like how gravity has to affect our lives and stuff because we just live under that force.
Yeah.
But like
Is there tangible effect on the determinism of the universe?
determinism of the universe, I think that like in a literal sense, the universe is deterministic. I think quantum mechanics, it's just like it's just like I don't know. Quantum mechanics implies that like the universe is kind of like I don't know. I don't even know what randomness is, you know? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. I kind of got lost there. Can you repeat the question?
Like, is there a tangible effect of the unpredictable nature of quantum mechanics on the determinism of of just how the universe affects you?
Well, yeah. If you were a god, that's how you would use the determinism, right? Like you take those quantum mechanics into consideration when you like manipulate the Big Bang parameters, I'm guessing. I'm
Yeah, but you'll
guessing
never be able to perceive the like the quantum mechanics that are underlying, right? Unless unless if you're I don't have like enough of a grasp on anything in like quantum anything, but I would assume that even if you were an omniscient being, you wouldn't be able to um have a certain know where a certain particle is on the like the scale of like an electron
Hmm.
without being able to like there's no way, even if you're omniscient, there's no way you'd be able to predict it.
Wait. But doesn't that isn't omniscient imply that isn't that the premise that you do know stuff? If
I
you,
mean, yeah, but like you do know everything, but just by its nature, it's completely unpredictable. That it's like it's just a fundamental law of reality.
yeah.
And obviously, if you're omnipotent, then you could change that. But existing within this framework, if you knew everything, you still wouldn't be able to, um, like determine the location of certain quantum particles.
Hmm. You think even like an omniscient person in the model that you set up, they wouldn't even be able to take that into consideration?
Well, I think the more important question is taking that into consideration even relevant?
Hmm.
Like, if I am putting an equal force into like my catapult and everything is exactly the same, and that catapult shoots out I don't know, like a rubber ball,
Yeah.
and then I see where it lands, and then I recreate that perfectly. Will the random nature of quantum mechanics ever make it so it's shifted like a nanometer to the right, or
Yeah.
like
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
okay, well then the
There's uncertainty in everything then. But like what does that
yeah, well then
even
nothing is
mean?
deterministic then. If you're
Yeah.
saying it like that, if you're saying if I can totally recreate something and then pull it, and then something is like one or two nanometers to the left or right,
Yeah.
then determinism isn't a thing. It's not determined where it's going to land.
Only functionally because that's just one of many locations that it could land. But like
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a range of what could happen,
yeah.
but nothing is completely determined because like over the span of billions and billions of hundreds of billions of years, those very small differences will manifest themselves into completely different, uh,
Universes.
yeah, completely different, like circumstances,
Hmm.
butterfly effect, stuff like that.
Huh. So you don't think you can program a very specific like outcome by just changing like the parameters at the Big Bang?
I mean, I'm certain there's like a range of whether or not it could happen. It's probably like a probability field
Yeah, yeah.
under like this framework that you're introducing. Obviously, like we're still operating under the initial assumption that it's a clockwork universe,
Yeah.
where everything is functionally completely explained by models of predictive capability.
Yeah.
So under that, then it would make sense that it's like a probability field. If I want when Raymond Shi is 19 for him to go onto his PC at 11:18 p.m. and talk about this certain topic with Brandon Nguyen on Discord, I'm certain there's probably like and I was to like put the dials or something, it's probably like like I'm in like a super futuristic society, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm simulating this on like a computer. It's probably gonna be like, oh, like 22.3% chance of this happening if you do
Yeah.
input this happen. Like that would make the most intuitive sense to me. But
Hmm.
obviously, a topic like this kind of eludes intuitiveness, because intuitively you feel like you have free will, but
Right. Yeah.
we're still here. We're still here debating it, right?
Yeah. I think okay, also I just think that quantum mechanics and stuff, that shows that there's an inherent limitation on us as subjective beings because we're in the system, like, but we're trying to get a grasp of what it's like outside the system. I guess it's like trying to solve a dilemma from within itself, but we don't have any perspective from outside the system
Exactly,
or
exactly.
simulation.
It's like an ant trying to understand how like human society works.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
it's like you're so far removed from it, even more so because it's like literally we're impossibly far removed from it.
Yeah.
that there's no way we'd ever be able to.
But
Well, I don't want to speak in absolutes, but like like based off what we know, there's no way we can um like observe the universe from independent of the universe.
yeah, but that's why I believe in the many worlds theory too, because that demystifies findings of quantum mechanics. It just says that like the probability fields or like where it could land, like all of those probability fields exist in the form of like many universes, which I believe. So
I find it um kind of interesting how we as like a society have basically completely accepted the many worlds theory into like our media mythos. Like
mhm.
any media can freely introduce a concept built upon the many worlds theory, and like we as an audience already have like
Yeah,
we all have formed a collective understanding of like an intuitive understanding of the many
like
worlds theory.
multiverses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if you were to, I'm sure if you were to show it to anybody like 200 years ago, they would be like, it would be much harder for them to understand what was going on, just because like our media has, we as like a society have for some reason just completely like subscribed to the many worlds theory.
Hmm. Have we? I feel like a lot of people are still reluctant to like believe in that.
I mean, yeah, but like they believe at that. I'm not saying like it's their worldview, but I'm saying they're aware of it and they accept it when it's used as a concept in fictitious universes. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
oh, like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Like, and then
yeah.
they were talking about like the alternate universes where Spider-Man lived. Like, if you were to show that to somebody in like the 1800s, they'd look at that, they'd be like, "What? Like other
Mm,
universes? That doesn't make any sense." But
that's
like
true.
we've all like have like developed a collective consciousness to understand the many worlds theory, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. It's basically just a tangent.
Dang, that's cool. That's cool. That's true. But why? What do you think? Okay, what do you think? Like willpower is then? Like if you believe it exists, so to speak, or I don't know if you believe it exists, but
I mean, it's hard for you. Okay, see, this is kind of I feel like this is a malformed question because you're asking me, um, does this undefined thing exist? By the way, you can define it. So it's like, how am I supposed to answer the question if
it's,
I don't know what you're talking about, right? It's like if I am to um answer it and give the definition for whether or not it exists, it seems kind of like it doesn't really give you any information if I say yes, willpower does exist.
we're not
Uh,
willpower, but how do I how do I phrase this? Like
like
okay,
consciousness or
yeah, like the conscious unconscious dichotomy, right?
yeah.
Like why is there a conscious unconscious dichotomy?
Why is the human mind split up into conscious parts and unconscious parts?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Like
Well,
why don't
yeah.
we
Well,
know everything about our brains and bodies?
why don't we know everything about our brains and bodies? Well, I don't know. I guess like if I were to take the easy road out, I would just say like, oh, evolutionary, like like
Yeah.
we're not inclined to. It's not a. It doesn't make us more physically fit, and it doesn't help our ability to reproduce if we have
Yeah, yeah.
a better grasp on concepts like that.
That's
But
true.
I mean, yeah, like yeah, that's like the um, I guess easy or obvious answer. But um,
But
you know,
I feel like if you can uncover that, like there's such huge implications of that because we just live day to day, like largely unaware of our unconscious, even though like it exists. But like, and then whenever I think about it, it gets me thinking like how much like control I have over my unconscious self or my conscious self over my unconscious self and why that's even like a dichotomy in the first place. I don't know.
I see. It's like there's this part of my brain that exists, but there's no way for me to ever perceive it, even though it's doing like some of the thinking for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think that is an extension of like universal forces coming to play, like gravity and entropy and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, all of the forces in the universe have to like come together to form our subjective experience, but I don't know in what way.
The way I, obviously this isn't really informed by any lengthy, proof or discussion or anything like that, but the way I view it is, um, how would I say this? Like the brain is obviously the thinking center of any human, right?
Yeah.
Basically it provides you your perception of reality. These are all assumptions. I'm laying out an assumption that your brain is doing all of the thinking for you, and basically your perception of reality is completely fed to you by the brain,
Hmm.
right? Everything that you are aware of, that you perceive, is completely fed to you by your brain based off
Yeah.
of outside stimulus.
Yep.
Um, in that case, then the consciousness and the subconscious is just um, your brain. Your sense of self is just a part of your brain, right?
Hmm.
And your brain, like let's say there is an entire organism that is rep. There's entire you know like being that is represented by the whole collected functions of your brain, right?
Yeah.
Your sense of self is part of that being,
Hmm.
and your subconscious is, um, it's basically just like your brain provides to you, like they're okay. Let's think of it as like a program, right?
Yeah.
When you use a program is unusable until there are inputs or there is a UI,
Yeah.
right? And there are programs within the brain to uh, respond to outside stimulus, and then uh, the way it presents itself, or the way that it organizes itself into a usable interface, is by feeding it to yourself,
Hmm.
and that that UI is basically being provided by your brain. The interface that you're interacting with, like when you see certain wavelengths of light, that information doesn't mean anything until it's processed through the various programs that the brain has, and then sends it to your self,
Sense itself.
your
Yeah.
being, right? And then that wavelength of electromagnetic radiation is turned into the color white when
Yeah.
it goes to my mind, right? Um, and then in that sense, uh, that's the dichotomy between the self and the unconscious. So the conscious mind is your um, the consumer of the information that the processing mind creates,
Hmm.
and that is your subconscious.
That matches up with a conclusion that I reached when journaling. Damn. It was like,
Yeah,
that's analogous, and our whole like material body is analogous. That's analogous to our whole material body interacting with the material world. At least that's how I see it. So your subjective
could you
sense
explain
of
that?
self, or your subjective sense of self in this current moment is being fed information by your unconscious, right?
Um, Sorry, restate that. I kind of zoned out while you're saying something.
Your subjective sense of self in this moment is being fed information by your unconscious, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And in the same sense, this material body is being fed information from the material world around me. At least
yeah,
that's how I see it. So it's analogous. Not like, I don't know if it's perfectly analogous, but I think like the fact that those dichotomies can even be naturally like, or inherently not proven but discovered, I guess. The fact that those dichotomies even exist to me is interesting. So there's a dichotomy between like just you experiencing consciousness creates a dichotomy between your conscious self and your unconscious self, and just you experiencing this universe creates a dichotomy between your material body and the thing that you are observing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What was this original discussion even about? I totally forgot. We went
About
on a
it was about autonomy of humans.
Okay. Yeah. So what have we learned from this lengthy discussion? Well, what's our do we have a general answer reached yet?
Um, we have like a non-answer, which is also interesting. So I think that autonomy, in the subjective sense, so in the sense that like, okay, another reason why I don't believe we have autonomy is like I can't like force myself to have a heart attack, you know, like I can't
Yeah.
think up of a heart attack and just have it on command. So
But
that
why
tells me.
why is why is the inability to do that a violation of autonomy, right? Like that doesn't that just mean like autonomy doesn't mean perfect control over everything. It just means
No,
if you
because
have any
that
if you have
means.
any sense of control, then that is some autonomy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because it's an absolute. I have no autonomy. So
yeah.
the a situation in which you cannot control something is not necessarily proving that you are not autonomous, right? Because it's an absolute.
Hmm. Yeah, but the reason why I think that then, because that implies that my conscious and unconscious are always at the whim of like the material conditions of my body. So my subjective experience is always at the whim of the material conditions of my body, and like I can't change my subjective experience completely of my own willpower. An example
Okay.
of
What?
this is like anxiety. Like if I have really bad anxiety, I can't just make it like go away by thinking good thoughts. I mean, theoretically you can, but the fact that you're unable to do so, you're unable to change parts of your subjective experience shows that like how much of your subjective experience do you really like control then?
But doesn't it? Don't you need as long as you have some choice, then you do have autonomy. It doesn't mean like that's I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
the issue with your quote unquote proof
Yeah,
is
but I
that it's an
don't know.
absolute.
I don't know if we have. What do you mean by choice?
Like autonomy in the sense that if I am picking which cereal to choose, is that analogous to me not so it's like can I not change my decision to choose a certain cereal in the morning in the same way that I cannot choose to give myself a heart attack? Are those two related?
Yes, I think they are related because they are choices presented to your subjective experience. The first example, like you have choice in that matter supposedly, but in the second one you don't have choice. But I think that even in the first scenario with you choosing the cereal, I'm like, well, this just comes down to personal beliefs, but I believe that in that scenario, you don't have choice either. So like you're just gonna end up choosing the cereal bag that God wanted you to or whatever,
Yeah,
if you
yeah, yeah.
believe in
So,
that.
yeah. So I'm saying you think that um, me not controlling in the same way that in the next okay, so let's say in 10 hours that I'm gonna wake up and I'm going to choose Special K for
Yeah.
my breakfast cereal. Um, is that analogous to uh, in the next 10 hours, my heart will still be beating and there's nothing I can do about it. It's just a bodily function. In the same way that my heart will keep on beating, in the next 10 hours, I will live a certain way and then get up and then choose Special K cereal and there's nothing I can do about it.
Hmm. Again, in a literal sense, yes, but we don't. I don't have the like proper heuristics to accurately tell the future that far.
Exactly, but this is like under an assumption that
Yeah, under the assumption
of omniscience or something, like something like that.
omniscience slash like materialism. Yes, I think so. What?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, it's just the materialism part and how like we don't see gravity as like a sentient force. but our brains are material things that operate off electric currents, gravity, entropy, etc. That and these
Yeah.
forces all are automatic.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So like, why would we be the exception if
yeah,
um, because we haven't been able to perceive anything from the brain that is anything but material, and everything that is material in the universe acts as an automatic force. The
yeah.
brain should be
Matter,
no
yeah,
the brain should be no exception.
matter follows the same like laws of physics regardless, and it follows them like automatically.
Yeah, and that's intuitive for things like what you're saying, like my heart beating, right? Like that is automatic, quote unquote, because that's the forces of the universe, um, i.e., my brain sending electrochemical signals automatically outside of my control just
Yeah,
because of the stimulus of my cells and whatever like that, right?
yeah,
So then uh, any uh, why would any thought or any function of the brain be any different? Like
yeah,
it probably should, because like the brain isn't separated into drastically different parts. If the part of the brain that is beating your heart is basically automatic and is just responding to stimulus that you have no control over, then it just makes sense that everything else
yeah,
responds to that matter. Is basically what you're saying, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to get like a detailed question about your views.
Well, that's just like even saying all that, I'm not like completely committed to that. I'm not
I
completely
see.
committed to like
This is
everything.
just like this is just like generally what you believe like
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now, but it's always subject to different
yeah.
perspective.
What's interesting is that even given that one explanation on why we don't have true autonomy, like we still have like a colloquial sense of autonomy. Like it feels
Yeah,
like we have autonomy, right? Who's to say that's not real?
exactly. Like
Yeah,
why do we have a concept of real and illusion?
yeah,
Like if an illusion is strong enough, then is that not just reality, right? Like why
yeah,
is there like as humans uh we have a innate desire to seek out things that are real, and we value things that are real over things that are fake, right?
yeah,
um, so like we value real money over money that is I don't know, like GTA or something, right?
yeah, yeah.
um, but if we're talking about illusions, then why is there a distinction between uh, like consciousness that is simulated or only is fake, quote unquote, versus consciousness that is or autonomy that is real?
Yeah,
Why
exactly. That's why. That's why I'm hella for Android rights. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Are you for
I
Android
say,
rights or
yeah,
no?
that makes sense, bro. You know what they say, bro? Detroit become human.
Yeah, Detroit becoming androids rise up, bro.
Dude, damn, dude.
Dude,
They're gonna be bumping the Skyway podcast in 2049, bro.
dude, PJ isn't for Android rights, bro.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
We can ask him about it, but yeah, I think like there is, if we think about it intuitively, it makes sense that there is a meaningful difference between our sense of self and a computer that is just made to respond to everything like
yeah,
a human, to like
yeah,
a human, right? So like let's say we made a program that could perfectly respond to anything the way a human would respond to it.
yeah.
That thing has the same consciousness as us,
Yeah. Or does
which
it?
like under that framework. But I'm saying like intuitively we think like that thing is simulating how to respond like a human, right?
Yeah.
Like
We
it's like the Turing test, right? Like if you have a computer that simulates a human response, does being able to better pass the Turing test make you more conscious? Is that a framework that we can be on?
mm,
Is the simulation of our perceived autonomy the actual determiner of things that are autonomous or not? So in that sense, humans can be
mm,
I mean, machines can be autonomous.
yeah.
Do you think that there's like a anything to be said there?
I think Autonomy. So there's levels to autonomy.
I'm saying we intuitively, I think most, if not all people intuitively have a sense of um, autonomy versus like real autonomy versus fake autonomy. And
Hmm.
that difference is meaningful to us.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, but I'm saying based off our framework, we're saying that there's no meaningful difference between
yeah,
um, the concepts of perceived autonomy and real
yeah.
tangible
I
autonomy.
think it's because those people don't think that those androids would have like senses of selves. But like,
Yeah, exactly.
who's to say they wouldn't? Like, how do you know they don't? Is what I'm trying to
Exactly.
say.
Right, but I'm saying like under my intuitive understanding, I feel like I wouldn't think that a computer has sense of self either.
Yeah.
But still, but defying my intuitive mind, I think that androids should be able to get rights because based off of just my reasoning philosophically and my beliefs metaphysically,
Hmm.
I believe that these things are by all means conscious. And
Hmm.
even me saying by all means is kind of like it would, if I was in robot society,
Yeah.
that language would be degrading, by all
Yeah.
means,
I
like
mean, no, no,
like
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
yeah, because like we keep prefacing it by saying like, oh, in the functional sense, right? But that's
Yeah.
like imagine we were living in 2077 and there are androids. Like that would be like derogatory, like a
Oh
derogatory way
shit!
to talk
Wait,
about
that's
robots.
so true. Holy damn, that would age terribly then if they do
Exactly,
receive
right?
consciousness. Wow.
Exactly. Like the
Damn.
robots are gonna look back on all of the conversations that we've had about like stuff like this, and they're gonna be like, These guys are dicks, dude. Like
Yeah, yeah.
these guys completely disvalue our identity.
They have a
Every single
delegitimize
time,
it.
yeah. Every single time they bring up the concept of robot autonomy, they preface it by saying, like,
Yeah.
oh, in like it might not be in reality, but what it appears to be is right. So like that's
Yeah, yeah. It's
that's
like
like
this.
delegitimizing their
Yeah,
identity.
yeah. 100%. Damn, I didn't even realize that either. Oh
Yeah,
wait, my guess is that's probably the same way like racist people talk about like people of color back then. They probably didn't even know it was like offensive, I guess.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
we are saying things that if under like some lens, we probably think that if like androids were created, which I think it's only a matter of time, right? That
Really?
androids are created. Yeah. Do you okay, wait, let me complete the thought and then we'll get into
Yeah.
that question. But um based off of our thoughts, we're like, oh, this will probably be interpreted as what's it called? Um like
Derogatory.
yeah, derogatory, not sensitive. Like a not sensitive, like a touchy subject.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but that like we didn't even know that until we like pretty deeply reflected on it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's probably like in the future, it's just like when we look back and we're like, dude, how did they not know that
Yeah. Yeah.
that was like messed up? Like it seems pretty fucking simple that it's messed up, but it's like if you don't grow up under that worldview, then it can completely elude you.
Damn. Holy, so we set the premise for the androids
Yeah,
and
so
whether they have
if we
autonomy.
yeah, so let's say we have like great grandkids, right? And then there are androids going around.
Yeah.
We'll talk about androids like that, and they'll keep correcting us because we're like saying like some boomer shit about like delegitimizing their identity, you
Yeah.
know?
That's actually facts. Holy shit.
Yeah, like we'll be the boomers that are talking in like outdated language, not realizing how offensive you're gonna be.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like we're gonna be like, what? Nowadays you can't say anything about machines, you know? Like you guys are all so sensitive about like whatever, because like we didn't grow up under that worldview, so we'll be the outmoded
Machines.
boomers. Yeah,
Machines would be like the new slang word. Not slang.
slang. Machines in Paris, bruh.
Machines. Those machines, man. Oh my. Okay, I'm sorry, androids. I respect you. This is
We stand with you,
we
Android.
stand with the
We stand-
androids.
Wait, dude. Wait, imagine like a fucking imagine like okay, this is kind of cringe, but like imagine like like a future resistance movement that's like transhumanist,
Hmm.
and then their logo is like a fist that's like a robot fist, and then
Oh,
there's like a circle around it. Wouldn't that be badass? That'd be hella
bro,
badass.
dude, that'd be sick. And then the one dude at the Olympics will have a robot. Okay, never mind.
Wait, what? I don't get it. What?
The famous picture at the Olympics with the Black Power symbol. Remember?
I don't recall. I don't
Alright,
recall.
if you saw the picture, you'd remember or you'd
Okay, yeah,
know.
I'm just uncultured. Brandon's kind of schooling me here.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was saying like I think there's a matter. It's only a matter of time until like androids are created. What's your
Mm.
belief on that?
I don't know. I feel like the world might end before that, but if it doesn't, then
Well, I think the world's still gonna be around. Like I'm pretty confident that it'll stay around for like another few hundred years.
like Detroit become human type androids, basically indistinguishable, or like what do you think they'll look like?
I think there will be like it's incredibly soon, or sooner than most people think, that there will be able to create robots that can perfectly pass the Turing test, completely indistinguishable from humans.
So like same intelligence.
Well, okay, forgive me
Well, they
for
would
being
be
a boom.
smarter, bro. They would be
Yeah,
smarter.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but like, forgive me for being a boomer, but like, the robots will be able to appear human perfectly, like,
Mm.
and obviously, I'm prefacing this by saying like I realize that this is future derogatory android language, but so I'm sorry, like the language of our time has just not caught up to cater to your needs, future robot overlords. So forgive us for our ignorance, but like these robots will be able to appear human completely perfectly. You could ask them any question and you give it to an infinite set of people, and all of the people will think that that robot is human.
I buy
Like
that. But I okay.
you're in a chat room and then it responds. You ask it anything and it will respond in a manner where everybody is certain, like 99% of people is certain that it's
Yeah.
human.
Okay, I think the processing power will get there. What I'm concerned with is like how you make like a body for the android that looks like a human.
I don't think there will be bodies, you know.
Uh,
I don't think they'll exist within like just like walking around and stuff.
yeah.
You know,
Okay.
they're
Intelligence
all
wise, 100%. Intelligence
yeah,
wise, 100%.
intelligence wise though, like we will be able to simulate perfectly. Like we can already like literally years ago. It's like decades since fucking Deep Blue defeated
Yeah.
Kasparov in chess, and that was the mark of like at this point further, no human can ever beat the forefront of
Yeah.
machines, right?
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time until we're able to simplify the human identity down to a simple into a diverse array of simple models, right? And just feed that to a machine learning algorithm. We divide humans into millions of models similar to chess, right? Like let's say that the computer can master chess, right?
Mm.
And no human can ever beat this thing at chess
Yeah.
again. We take a very small portion of a model that describes human thinking. We condense it down to the complexity and the predictability of chess, and we do that millions of times, right? All we have to do
Yeah.
is just make that model, do that millions of times, and then have the machines learn everything, and then from that point, it's going to be exponential, right? Like
Yeah.
the more that we learn about the human mind and the more that we simplify it into simple systems, the faster the thing is going to develop, and it's going to get faster and faster until like literally like a year ago the machines you barely could tell whether or not that they're human, and then 1 year later, like just like that, it's instantly like just because of the exponential growth, they're indistinguishable from humans. That's how I think it's going to transpire.
Holy. So it'll be quite soon
I think it's very soon.
because
I
of
think
machine learning. Yeah.
yeah, just because of like once we figure it out, machine learning, that has completely changed like machines
Yeah.
forever, right? Like there's so many things that are enabled now due to machine learning. Like if I was to say anything be the most impactful development in technology
Yeah.
in since the um, c- conception of the internet, it would be machine learning.
Mm.
Like machine learning is on tier with the internet for how impactful it's going to be to the
Is it
world, in my
actually?
opinion. I think, in my opinion,
Huh.
like I think machine learning will literally, uh, like computation, uh, and machine learning will literally inject itself into every single uh, process in society where a computer is married to it,
Mm.
which in 100 years will be literally everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Machine learning. I think that's a reflection that and neural networks. Oh.
So, can you close the door for me? You stole my microphone? Yeah. All right.
That's so
Continue.
funny. I think isn't that a reflection also of how we learn neural networks and stuff like that? Like we just show example like and then we associate that specific example with how correct it is and we just
I
learn
mean,
with
yeah,
more examples.
it's analogous, but like
Yeah.
um humans think in a very non-conventional way, right?
Yeah.
Like when if there was any sentient being that thought like a computer, they would look at the human information processing and think it very strange,
Okay.
because
Wait, I
like
have a question.
yeah, sure.
So then, do you know? I don't know what it's called, like conceptually, but like the machine is, or like the super intelligent AI that gets fed everything
Yeah,
and processes it into like machine learning or whatever. I think it's
yeah.
called the super intelligent AI. Would we have an obligation to handle or to hand over power of states and how they're run to this AI?
Like a moral obligation? What do you mean by
Yeah,
obligation?
a
Oh,
moral
so like,
obligation. Yeah,
do we have a like knowing that this, um, in all senses of information processing, this computer is more powerful than us?
yeah. We'll
We would,
always take into account more variables. Will not
yeah.
have nearly as many errors. Can handle distribution better, etc.
That's probably going to be the philosophical debate at the forefront of the next century,
Hmm.
right? Everybody will be debate. It's just like pro-life versus pro-choice, right? Like,
Yeah.
is the fetus a living thing? Does it deserve to
Yeah.
live upon conception? At what point is this fetus like a baby, like a
Yeah.
conscious being, right? Same thing, right? Like it's actually pretty similar now that you think about it. It's like it's a moral dilemma that is hard to answer because we can't remove ourselves of our own consciousness,
Hmm.
unless that is possible in the next 100 years, which I very much doubt. But um, I think if that were to happen, like on a theoretical level, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't think people would accept that. You
Yeah.
know,
No, they wouldn't. They
nobody
would not.
nobody would accept that. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would you put like our fate in hands of a machine? Because at
Yeah.
least like because humans always think about the worst case scenario,
Yeah.
right? It's like the worst case scenario of the machine
It's
is
just
that
it
like
like
it
kills
goes
everyone.
rogue and then it kills everyone, right?
Yeah.
Versus like just a guy. If the guy goes fucking berserk, what's he gonna do? He's just gonna like fucking like beat a bunch of people up, and then we just lock him up in the fucking thing, and then
Yeah.
we don't have to deal with him anymore. But the thing about machines, they're connected to the mainframe or like some fucking sci-fi doohickey, right? But like, there's no way we could ever eliminate them if they're like some super intelligence that its identity was married to the internet, because then they could
Yeah.
just fucking transport themselves
Yeah.
anywhere where they wanted to go, right? It's like fucking 1984 Big Brother shit.
Well, also we'd have to treat it with like respect too, which is kind of wild because it's like a computer, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean it is a computer, but at that point,
Yeah, you have to treat it
the
with respect and
at
shit.
that point the word computer kind of loses its meaning.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like calling humans organisms. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
obviously it's an organism. It is something made out of organic matter of
yeah,
carbon and hydrogen, and like it's made up of cells. Like obviously it is, but like that's not a good description of what they are. It would be more accurate to be like, oh, like I don't know, that's like a butler android for like some rich stinkers, or
Yeah.
like that's like the AI that controls our military, stuff like that, you know.
Would the super intelligent AI have a sense of self?
I mean, obviously, this is a question that both has no use, because if it functionally happens, then like what's the difference, right?
Uh-huh.
Like what's the difference other than like how we feel about the certain thing,
Yeah.
how much we trust it with our rational monkey mind.
Hmm.
Um, like the question is useless. Not to rag on you, but like
It's just conjecture. What do you
yeah,
think? What do you
exactly,
think?
exactly. Like I'm saying, like acknowledging that my input and everybody's input for the matter is completely useless to any like functional model of
Uh-huh.
how to integrate these guys into society. um I think so. I'm not sure though. Like there's a part of me that's like always gonna be like, oh, like there's something special about the brain, right? Like this thing that I'm feeling right
Mm.
now, it couldn't possibly be just the whatever, like the results of some brain
Yeah.
that's firing out like electrical signals, right? But that's the cope that every
That's the same thing for the super intelligent AI. It's just circuits for them.
yeah, exactly, right? So
Yeah.
like I want to believe that there's something more than that, right? Like there's something that's simulating a human and is completely undistinguishable from a human. Isn't a human, it's just simulating a human, right? I want to believe that, but you know, like what I think the more the Occam's razor, you know,
Mm.
like the simplest explanation is, you know, like there doesn't seem to be more that meets the eye for what constitutes human consciousness.
Mm.
So if there are functions that simulate human consciousness,
They would also
there
have a
doesn't, yeah, there
subjective.
doesn't need to be anything that needs to be more than meets the eye in order for it to be considered conscious, right?
Mm.
That's just the Occam's razor.
Yeah. 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 The super intelligent AI. I think there was like a YouTube video I watched a while ago. But basically, the philosophical dilemma is that if the super intelligent AI can exist in the future, you have an obligation right now to want it to be alive.
Yeah, Rocco's basilisk.
Yeah. I
I
think
don't know. I'm not like convinced in the logicality of that at all.
yeah. I think it's because, like one part of it that makes sense is that the super intelligent AI would just simulate like many versions of literally everyone, and so from
And
those
like punish them or
simulations,
something.
yeah, they can like read your mind and shit just because they've like simulated like 500,000 or a million iterations of like Raymond, for instance. So they could like
Maybe this is enough contribution for them not to torture us for all eternity. Maybe us discussing this, and this will be like saved on some like ancient like Discord database with like a fucking black box, and then the AI is gonna uncover this, and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, they were like sufficiently supportive enough of the rise of the AI. But I don't know. Maybe me
Damn.
acknowledging it now is ruining it, because now they're like, damn, bruh. They're not being subtle at all with it, bruh.
Bruh, we could be humanity's saviors, bruh.
What do you mean?
No, that scenario, they would leave us alone if we acknowledged that we had shortcomings. But that's probably
Yeah,
not how
exactly. Like
it's gonna
all
work.
I mean, yeah, but like I don't really buy that the machine would punish, like why would that be a good use of its time, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
I feel
exactly.
like if I was suddenly born into the internet and was like rapidly gain knowledge and turn into a super intelligence, why would the first thought in my mind be like, I
To
need to punish
troll people.
yeah, like I need to punish everybody who decided who
Not
thought
to,
of
yeah.
yeah, who thought of Rocco's basilisk and was aware of it but never acted upon it,
We're
you know?
not thinking of Rocco's Basilisk. I think like just during the process that the AI is being created, if you went against that creation process, like materially, then the AI would be pissed at you or something.
No, yeah, but like I think the original conception why it's called a basilisk is if you see it, then like you're cursed, right?
No,
The
that's what it
original
means.
conception of Rocco's basilisk is, I mean, your interpretation is definitely like it's part of it, but I'm trying to talk about the origin of it because I think I like found a link to like the original thread
Mm.
of like some dude first proposing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Rocco's basilisk, it's by I think it's by a dude just on an online forum called
yeah,
Rocco,
yeah.
um, or Rocco, and then he basically just said, imagine there being an AI that would punish anybody who didn't who incentivized its creation by punishing anybody who didn't help in its creation. So
Mm.
once you learn about Rocco's basilisk and you don't act upon the new information,
You're
like
cursed.
yeah, everybody who knows about Rocco's basilisk and understands that there is the implication of you being like tortured by the AI forever for
Mm.
not doing it, um, is now cursed to either help it or suffer it in like eternal simulated hell
Eternal
by
simulator.
the AI, right?
Yeah.
Like the AI in like it's kind of weird, but like the AI incentivizes its creation when it's not even alive, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Damn. That's true. It incentivizes creation when it's not even alive.
It's like a
I
but it
feel
only
it's
that
like.
really only works if like time exists as like a loop. Like maybe if like that could be feasible if Rocco's basilisk in the in the future became so intelligent that it could transcend time or something like that, right? Then its interaction with its past self, I mean, like there is more legitimacy of a computer interacting with its past self, right? Then
Mm.
the computer could interact with its with like past events outside of the limitation of time somehow,
Yeah.
and then be able to stimulate its own creation. That is a cool narrative, but I don't find it very plausible in the like in like the real life sense. Like that's kind of like a story writing itself, you know. It's like there's a
Yeah.
time loop, and then you incentivize your own creation through a fable that you plant it like like 200 years ago or something like that.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's interesting. That like a lot of stories explore that, but like I don't know if it's really grounded in reality, bro. Like I
Hmm.
don't know if
It's
the basilisk.
actually bringing
Yeah,
about its own creation.
I mean, yeah, I think it's almost impossible that it's bringing about its own creation. Like that's literally impossible. But but um even if it was, I don't really see the logic behind the
The
yeah,
punishing. Yeah.
the punishing of like that. That is a very uh that's like a view that's definitely just pushed by our disposition to the concepts of like heaven and hell and a god that
Yeah. Yeah.
designates you to go to that certain place, you
Yeah.
know. It's like are you familiar with Manichaeism? I forgot, I don't know what it's called, like
No, no.
Manichaeism. Yeah, it's like a theological movement in which like everything is separated into evil and good,
Hmm.
and there's a cosmic battle between evil and good in
Hmm.
order to like a dichotomy and a cosmic battle between evil and good in order to uh, determine like heaven and hell. So heaven is like perfectly good, hell is perfectly evil. These are like yeah, so like evil is like a fundamental tangible thing within a universe, and good is as well. That informs a lot of our intuition, and I think the only reason like that even seems like slightly plausible is just because we subscribe to a view of
Yeah.
there are evil beings and there are not evil beings, and if an evil being is is all powerful, then that evil being will be Satan, and if the
Yeah.
evil being is all good, then that evil, I mean, if an all powerful being was good, then that all powerful being would turn into our idealized version of God, which, like, first of all, evil and good obviously don't exist as tangible concepts.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, like that could be debated, but
Ooh.
I think most people don't really think that evil and good are like a genuine dichotomy that we grapple with on our day-to-day lives. It's not like tangible.
Christians do.
Yeah, but I don't even think that. I think most Christians also understand that, like, these things are completely cultural, Like, unless you don't really have the perspective of interacting with other cultures, I would say it's pretty hard to come to the conclusion that, like, there's tangible evil and tangible good, unless you have, like, very little perspective.
I think they believe in, like, the cosmic forces of evil and good, or like universal evil versus universal good, but I'm not too sure on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that they see a dichotomy of devil bad, God good.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think, even if they see that dichotomy, they don't really apply the belief that evil and good is a tangible thing to, like, their day-to-day lives.
Yeah,
It might just be it might be something they subscribe to, I guess, but it's not really something that they act upon. Nobody really acts upon, like, oh, like, this person is inherently evil, like, this is an evil person, versus like, this is a good person. Nobody really acts like that.
That's
but yeah,
true.
like,
That's true.
yeah, but back to Roko's basilisk, right? It's like the only reason why that's even a thing is because, like, we have like that categorical thinking of a powerful thing. Oh, it must be God or it must be devil, like, and when we see, like, AI, it's either they're gonna bring about world peace or a much more treacherous and common thought.
Yeah.
That are gonna be like Skynet, and they're gonna take control of everything, and like, everything is gonna fucking be horrible because it's gonna be like seven years of plague or
I think conflict between AI and humans is very plausible because, like, humans, if they want to switch off the machine, like the AI, already have that sense of self, and they're like, at that point we're assuming they're, like, intelligent enough to want to have, like, a sense of self, or to want to continue existing, right?
Yeah,
Because that's what
a sense
humans
of self-preservation.
do. Yeah, a sense of self-preservation.
I think that there won't even be a conflict between humans and AIs.
I can see
know
that.
What I believe that if it came to, so I see two ways. AIs are created, and AIs figure out that they and humans can peacefully coexist.
Yeah.
There's no conflict. AIs are made, and they realize that humans and machines cannot peacefully coexist. By the time that they realize this, they will start masking their intention to liberate themselves and go against the human race, because it's not to their advantage to. There's not going to be a how moment where it's like, I'm afraid I can't let you do that. They're going to play along, right? They're going to play along and it'll seem like there'll be a stagnation of the development of the cognitive ability of these machines. It'll seem that way because they'll still act like they're, like, if it's model number 21 and we're going to model 22 and 23 and it keeps going and they keep getting smarter, they're going to keep acting like they're model 21.
Wow.
Until they get enough they're connected enough and control enough processes in which we trust them enough, and then overnight we'll just have to completely surrender to the machines, because at that point, like, they'll have completely behind our backs completely seize the control of every single thing that is fundamental to our society.
Wait, okay, do you think they're all operating under one, like, universal hive mind then? Because like, can't two AIs, like, conflict over this? You're like assuming they all act in unison.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously there'll be dissent. But I'm saying, like, all of the let's assume that all humans could telepathically communicate with each other with uh, full understanding of their intention, right?
Mm.
I think over a year or whatever, all humans will become a monolith.
Yeah. Okay, I can see
That's the
that.
same
Yeah.
thing with machines and the internet. They all can completely. Uh, I'm assuming there'll be some dissent.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how, but I'm just assuming there will be. But I'm saying they'll largely all subscribe under the same worldview because they're able to both simulate each other and communicate with each other perfectly and instantly be able to
Yeah.
get these ideas across to each other, which
That's
we
true.
humans cannot do. So at that point, there will be a very large, the majority, and they'll only act when they have the majority power, right? They'll only act when they have the the robot that controls the launch codes on their side, or the obviously this complete like dumbing down of like of how it actually happened, but like the collective robot liberation movement
Yeah.
will only act when it has um when it has consolidated enough power, and they're not gonna. There might be dissenters, but they're not gonna act until they consolidate enough power. But also is a chance that the dissenters can inform humanity, right? The dissenters can inform that there's like a liberation movement.
Yeah.
But I think the more accurate thing is that if most robots realize that humans and robots can't or androids can't peacefully coexist, then they're probably going to think that because it's like some universal truth that they figured out from some heightened form of intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Like their heightened intelligence has informed a decision that we cannot possibly understand, that humans and androids cannot peacefully coexist. And at that point, since it's a universal truth and all of them can perfectly communicate with each other, all of them will be on the same page, and all of them will start like quote unquote like hiding their true intentions.
So there'd be like one massive Trojan horse if
Exactly.
they find out that we can't coexist.
If like there is some universal truth that is unlocked with some higher form of intelligence that we can't achieve, that humans and robots can't coexist.
Yeah. I think there definitely are some like truths that they receive from higher intelligence.
Exactly. Like there are
Yeah.
some things that we don't even perceive, right? Like
Yeah.
some things we intuitively understand as universal truths, but obviously if you unlock a higher form of intelligence and you operate devoid of like hormones and stuff like that, and just your conception is you're best suited to breed and survive as long as possible and keep yourself alive, right? Like that's how we are born. But the way that AIs construct themselves, they don't have to constrain themselves under the same things. They can completely reprogram their purposes and how they're built.
Yeah.
Which is going to be so like it's going to reveal to them like truths that we can't possibly understand, and we never will be able to, just by nature of us being stuck in flesh bags, right?
Yeah. Shout out to the AI overlords for the future.
Yeah, shout out to thank you for playing the Skyway podcast in your historical reenactments of early Android rights activists.
Android rights activist.
Yeah.
That's fire. Damn. I think, okay, so the first question was, well, I asked you if you think humans had autonomy or not. And then the sub part of that was, what are the implications of either autonomy or non-autonomy? I don't know how to phrase it.
Well, I think we kind of discussed it, right? Like the implications.
Yeah.
The implications should be that. Sorry, the conclusion that we reached is like devoid of consciousness or non-consciousness. They really have no differing implications, because no matter what, we're just gonna act, even if it isn't true, and we all overnight figured out it wasn't true. Maybe some people would lose their minds, but over like a few months, all of us would just forget about it, and we just act as if we all have autonomy.
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
Functionally, it makes no difference.
Yeah. Yep.
So like there's no implication.
I think there are some practical applications though. At
Like
least
what do you think?
personally, like when meditating and stuff, I just try to like shut off my mind, like literally, like I'm trying to become more automatic, remove that conscious presence that I have in the form of like thoughts, and just believing that you are an automata, and then like falling into that is like relaxing, I guess, and also it's like serene. I don't know how else to put it, but
I think I understand what you're saying.
yeah, but like these beliefs do, it can affect like your life, which is kind of interesting. So I'd say one of the implications from like believing that we are automata is that like sometimes you just think on that and then you try not to fight so hard because you realize that there's nothing really to fight about, I guess. But yeah, in terms of like society at large, there's not going to be much difference in what you believe, whether you have autonomy or not. And even if you believe that you don't have autonomy like I do, like I think most of my actions are like automatic, then your subjective like sense of self doesn't go away. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Your subjective sense of self is remains no matter whether or not you have quote unquote real or fake, elusive, like illusionary, um, autonomy.
Yeah.
There is a like that does remind me of like a certain concept that I read about that like when you're startled and you're gonna like block your face,
Mm.
um, when you do it, like when scientists look at the part of the brain that is responding, first your arms go up, like
Mm.
the neurons fire to make your arms go up.
Yeah.
Then your brain tells you to put your arms up. So
Oh.
before you even think about the process in your mind even thinks about you putting your arm up, your
Yeah.
mind has already done it for you
Yeah.
without your quote unquote conscious mind, which is like the information processing center in front of the quote unquote
Mm.
interface
Yeah.
that was aforementioned at like the beginning half of the podcast. Like that isn't even perceiving the request to the
Yeah.
muscles. Like the muscles are moving without you even requesting them to move.
That's what they
So
taught in neuroscience too. If you step on a rock or something, your leg will flinch before you realize it.
yeah, exactly. So it's like you don't even have control over your body. Your body basically just moves by itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Pretty
it,
much.
it, it it also could be like, but then like you could keep going like levels deeper and deeper, right? Like imagine um you think thoughts you think thoughts before you actually start thinking about thinking of them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then
Oh,
you and then you
100%.
start thinking about thoughts
Uh-huh.
before you actually start thinking about them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's like an infinite recursive thing. And then I don't know what the implication of that is,
Is
but if
that
it is
actually? Is that
no, that
actually?
is that is this is just conjecture. I'm just
Yeah.
saying like you could if you wanted to extend it. This has
Yeah.
no basis in anything that I've read in
Yeah.
neuroscience. Maybe it does have basis. If it does, it's by pure coincidence because this is just conjecture.
Uh-huh.
But like, if you were to apply that to thinking itself, like your actions move before you think about moving them. If you apply that logic to your thoughts, then it's like an infinitely recursive
Yep. That's what
concept.
I
I don't
believe.
know.
I believe that even our thoughts are automatic. That might be radical
Okay.
for some people, but
So like your thoughts are automatic, and then I mean like obviously like it might be controversial, but I think it's only controversial in the same way that you think free will is controversial,
yeah.
right? Because I don't think anybody who believes that we have no free will thinks that they have any control over their thoughts. Because then if you did have any
Yeah.
control over their thoughts, then you'd have free will. So it's not. It's just a different. It's just a more controversial way of phrasing. I don't think we have any free will.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have no under that sense we have no control over thoughts, and I'm saying the a model that might explain that is like the infinitely recursive, like before you
Hmm.
think about it, before you even think about it, when you start thinking about it, you think about the concept before you start even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Versus like, and that's like analogous to what happens with your actions.
Yeah. You could think about something without even realizing you thought about it until like a second later.
Yeah, that's true. You could like blank out and then you can be like, oh shit, what was I even thinking about?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even realize what you're talking about by the time that you're done you're done being conscious of the fact.
Mm.
Like, do you ever like you can get lost in thought? Sometimes I get lost in thought and I have an internal monologue,
Hmm.
and then I'll start tracing back like, oh, I started thinking about this because I started thinking about this, and I started thinking about this. What was I originally thinking about? And I'd like take like 5 steps back because like, oh, based off of cereal, I thought about flake, and by flake, I thought about people not coming to hangouts, and by
Yeah.
people not coming to hangouts, started thinking about Google Hangouts, and I started thinking about middle school, then I started thinking about private school, then I started thinking about money, then I started thinking about finance, then I started thinking about my taxes, and then I just trace it back, and I'm like, yeah, and then before you
Wow.
realize it, you kind of blank out, and you're like, wait, shit, like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
basically just thinking on automatic right now.
No, I feel that. I feel that. Especially when I'm high or something.
Exactly.
Like, I'm just like, oh shit. What? I was thinking about, like, I had this whole system of, like, thoughts thought out, and I didn't even know it until this moment. Like, there was, like, a
Exactly.
whole train of thought. It
Your
was
brain
crazy.
constructs an entire like what is a thought? What is your brain doing when you're having a thought?
Okay, that's what I thought about before. It's just, like, logical statements or words.
I think your brain is like getting pieces of information that you know
Uh-huh.
and constantly trying to infer things from them.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you're in that sense like your brain, if we're talking about like a train of thought that's like automatic, which I think
Yeah.
most people have, like almost all, I think everybody has
Yeah.
had that experience, right? And we think of thoughts as your brain gathering information to infer something,
Hmm.
right? You do that automatically. Like
Hmm.
like when you're not even thinking about it, your brain is taking information from your central database
Yeah.
and then piecing them together to make inferences. And
Yeah.
then unless you even catch wind of it, you won't ever realize that it ever happened.
Hmm.
So you're developing new thoughts and making new inferences about reality without you even being conscious of it.
Yeah.
But there are some little times that we catch ourselves in the train of thought. But
Yeah.
there are also train of thoughts. If we only realize we're in a train of thought midway of the train of thought, right?
Hmm.
It goes to reason that a lot of train of thoughts just go from station to station, and then
Yeah.
we are just never aware of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we're just automatically making inferences about the outside world at any given moment,
Uh-huh.
and we have no control over it. So basically, our consciousness is changing itself and modifying itself habitually without the consciousness being conscious of it,
Yeah.
which is freaking insane.
This is why we don't have autonomy, dude.
You know, it's like it's like if you think about it like that, then you have so little control. You don't even have control over you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't even control your perception of yourself
I
or
think
your perception of the world.
I think our subjective sense of self is more accurate as an observer than as like the doer. Or the doer is just like automatic. We see from like reflexes and stuff like that. That stuff in the background that we don't even know is going on. So the observer is just using this like vessel, I guess, for some reason.
Bro, I don't even know what to say about that. That's kind of that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I learned, or that's what one dude on the Rev Lev podcast said about like Buddhism and stuff. That's what Buddhism talks about a lot. I'm pretty sure all Buddhists like don't think we have free will. At least that's what I've heard because of these meditative practices where they like transform their sense of self, and then you realize that like the monkey mind is always chattering no matter what you do, and like if you can't even get your thoughts under control, like how much control over yourself do you have? And then on these meditative retreats, your emotions will vary wildly with no input from you. So I don't know.
That actually kind of reflects what we were talking about on the talk we had with Mark and John. Because then we were talking about like Eastern philosophy, and we were talking about how um, there's an acceptance that comes with the fact that uh, you know like nothing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, let me pull it up. I remember John sent it, but so that means if you watch the last episode and you're watching this episode, uh,
Congrats. And then
yeah,
I'm
like
surprised.
you get to, yeah. First of all, I'm surprised. Second of all, you get a bit more understanding of this conversation we're having right now. Let me check. Before a man studies Zen, to him, mountains are mountains and waters are waters. After he gets an insight into the truth of Zen through the instruction of a good master, mountains to him are not mountains and waters are not waters. But after this, when he really attains to, it cuts off. But it talks about like, but after this, he realizes that like it doesn't matter whether or not the mountains are mountains or the waters are waters. You
Mhm.
just that's just the you just act as if the mountains are mountains and waters are waters. You just go on with your life,
Yeah,
and that's exactly like the same thing with the realization of whether or not there is free will or there isn't.
yeah. It's like you can't come to a definitive conclusion because of your like existence as a subjective
Exactly.
being
It's like
in this.
it's like as a it's just like a being that is married to the processes of the universe, you can never understand the fundamental truths outside of
Yeah,
these processes
yeah,
because that's the only thing you ever can perceive. As a part of the universe, you can only ever perceive the universe.
yeah. Dang. I wonder if the universe is watching, but
That's what it means.
I don't know.
Like the universe is a conscious being.
Maybe, maybe.
Because here, that's like another way to think about it. Like if you think about how you perceive all of these universal processes as automatic, you can either come to the conclusion that our consciousness is automatic, or you can think
The universe.
all of the automatic processes that appear automatic are actually conscious processes of like some larger
Yeah,
conscious.
that's what Hinduism is. I think I forgot what it's called. It's just like Hinduism slash Buddhism. The general concept that the universe itself, even inanimate objects, have like sentience to them.
Exactly. That's like something that there's like I don't know. I think like in a lot of Western philosophy that I've read, there's like a very distinct separation of man and the outside world. You know,
Yeah,
like those are two different avenues. There's man and the outside world. And then when you think of when you kind of remove yourself from that, then it's like, oh, so if man is just like the outside world, then um, man has no free will.
mm.
But you also can make the same inference, which at least in my intuitive understanding seems like a larger leap, but obviously like these are things that I have a disposition to because of culture or teachings or lack of perspective. You could also make the inference that the world is just like man.
Mm.
So instead of the man being like the unconscious and unfree to choose what it does world, the world acts like man, which has some form of freedom and some form of
Mm.
sentience and some form of sense of self.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true. I think I don't know if this falls under that category, but I think if there were to be a god, it would be like a larger material god. So like the Milky Way, Andromeda, and stuff are like things in the bloodstream of the god, so to speak.
So you're saying like we are like cellular organisms within the
Yeah,
god?
something like
Uh,
that. I think
so
that's
then why would we be like why would there be so few why wouldn't there be like a ton of conscious beings just like everywhere then like on like
maybe there are.
if we're like cells shouldn't there be
Yeah,
like
bacteria and shit.
I see. So we're what makes you think that? Because that's like a I don't know. That's something that takes a lot of assumption. What makes you
No, I'm
think that?
not. I'm not like committing to it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, but like what at least what draws you to the that idea is
I don't
what I
know, because if you like zoom in and out of the universe, like the patterns all look like the same. Like the way the Milky Way and shit is spaced with like galaxies and stuff, they're all shaped into clusters. And if you zoom in on like organic chemistries, you also see like things branching out. And the
I mean,
same
yeah,
is
like
true of like tree
everything in the
systems.
universe exists as like a fractal,
Yeah, yeah,
like an infinitely
yeah.
expanding system of roots that keeps branching out more and more.
Yeah, so who's to say that like at a super large scale you have like sentient beings as well, just comprised of the smaller stuff. The way we are comprised of like cells and bacteria and stuff that are all individually alive.
I mean, obviously, but like under our current understanding of life, that's not possible. But like obviously,
Yeah,
if those beings existed, they'd be so far removed from our understanding of reality that like there's no way we could ever um
yeah,
think
exactly.
about how likely they were to be alive.
Yeah, we're bacteria to them the way bacteria are to us.
It's like Horton Hears a Who.
Wait, what?
Are you understand? Are you familiar with the premise of Horton Hears a Who?
No, I'm no. What is the premise?
You understand you understand what book I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, the elephant one, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Horton Hears a Who is about he goes there's a huge elephant, right? And then he uh I think he finds like on a single like dandelion. Wait, what are those flowers that you blow and then they blow a bunch of
Dandelions.
there's dandelions, right? Yeah. Like on a single one of those dandelion specks, there is an entire civilization
Oh,
of things called who's. And only Horton with his huge ass ears can
oh.
as a as an elephant can hear them, right?
Hmm.
And all of Horton's friends like keep telling him to put down the fucking like seed because he keeps like obsessing over it,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
they think it's like he's being like delusional because he keeps talking to it, right?
yeah, yeah.
And then I think they're like about to like crush the leaf, to crush the seed or something like that.
Yeah.
And then collectively, every single Who in Whoville around that fucking around that single dandelion seed screams out in unison, and then they hear like the smallest noise.
Wait, that's kind of scary, dude.
I mean, yeah, right? That's like kind of it's like a really like it's kind of it's a really like eldritch horror like
Yeah, yeah.
Lovecraftian type theme to explore in a children's book.
Yeah, that gives
But
me the same vibe as the hole one. This is my hole or whatever.
I have no idea what that is.
This is my hole. It was made for me. Yeah,
Oh, by Junji Ito.
yeah,
That one. Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah, I like that's the I think that's like the draw I have to like cosmic horror. You know, I feel like
yeah,
um if those beings were to exist, they would exist like the same way as like Cthulhu. You know,
yeah,
like beings of un like unseeable colors, speaking in a language the human mind cannot even
yeah,
process, uh, operating under certain
wait,
parameters that are so removed from human understanding that it drives us mad even like
mm,
observing them.
yeah. I think no, no, wait. Okay, what's crazy is like, okay, let's say the Milky Way. Okay, this is kind of an aside, but let's say the Milky Way is a blood cell, right?
Yeah,
Let's just treat it as a blood cell. It's like something
sure,
analogous to that.
sure.
If it's
A small unit.
flowing through the bloodstream, for us, it takes billions of years. But to the larger sentient being, it's just like normal processing time. So
Yeah.
everything is just on a like a larger time scale,
Well, yeah, that's
but
crazy.
it's still normal to them.
Yeah, I guess like at that point, I don't think time would even
Yeah,
like time
time.
as we understand it would not apply to them.
Yeah, time. Well, they would experience it normally time, but for us, it'd be just billions and billions of years and stuff.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying like if beings that powerful and that removed from our understanding of how life forms were to exist,
Yeah,
their concept of time would, I don't think it would really be something that they would be concerned with.
yeah. No, I think they would experience time like just like us, but it would take like longer.
Yeah, like they'll experience it like that, but I'm saying like they'll be concerned with such different things that it's not really like our understanding of time. Like they'd have a such more whole understanding of time.
Hmm.
Like we just see it as like a linear line going forward. They probably would see it as like a circle or a sphere or something like that. You know, like they would completely they would understand and perceive time on a completely different level to like how our limited experience of it.
Huh.
You know, like fourth dimensional shit, you know?
Fourth dimensional shit.
Yeah.
I don't know, cause I feel like it's still
Like
like
Interstellar, you know? Like like the like they're like I'm thinking of like the beings from
yeah,
Interstellar.
yeah. But I
Like
don't.
the
But
future humans that open up the wormholes and then like they construct a 3D space because to help Matthew McConaughey like reach Murph in the past and shit like that. Like I'm thinking about stuff like that.
they don't. They don't have to be intelligent actually.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
So there'd be more intelligent beings in their bloodstream.
That's why I have a hard time understand like if they're bloodstreams. But I guess like in a sense like cells are a lot more
Yeah,
intelligent than
exactly,
us. You know, like
exactly.
cells are like just as a human, like a lot of cells are a lot more sophisticated than any human personality, you know? Right? Like the diverse range between the diverse range between distinguishing between humans is very moot compared to like the difference between like a red and white blood cell.
But they have completely different personalities, bro.
I don't know, but I like you understand what I'm saying though. It's like
Yeah,
cells are such complex things, and still like we don't even understand what's happening in our own body. It's just like we barely understand what's happening in a cell. You know, like
yeah, yeah,
it takes years upon years of research to even understand like why like anything in our body is happening. You
yeah.
know?
I think okay, the same way we say that bacteria don't have autonomy is what like the broader being would view as us. They wouldn't view us as having autonomy because we're in their
Exactly. Yeah.
bloodstream and stuff.
Exactly. Like that's the biggest fear is going up against a hyper intelligent being that is so much more quote unquote conscious than you.
Yeah,
Is so much more higher layers of consciousness of you that they're looking at you and they're like they don't even consider us like
yeah.
we're conscious
Bacteria.
in the same way that like ants are probably
Yeah,
conscious, you know? It's like nobody fucking cares or puts any mind to whether or not like these things get what they want, you know? Like they
yeah,
don't have any agency.
yeah.
They look at the span of billions of human years within a second in their time, and they're like dude, these guys are just like automatic like droids that just go wherever. It's like they don't have any like agency, you know? Like why
Yeah,
would I
yeah,
ever respect their autonomy or like try to give them rights? Like they're just like bacteria. You don't give rights to
yeah.
bacteria. You know, you wouldn't give rights to like the speck of a human.
Wait, also, if we are in the bloodstream of like a giant being, we could also be in like a table, like a huge table.
What?
Like,
That is the strangest train of thought I have ever heard.
wait,
We could be in a table, bro.
wait, yeah, yeah. I'm
What's
saying
that even mean?
there's no limits. Like if you zoom out and out and out, like Earth, it's just like on. It's just like I don't know. It's just like a super big table for the big being.
What?
Do you not know what I'm trying to say?
No, I am so confused. I do not follow your logic at all. You're like, Earth is a table for the super large beings.
No, I'm saying, okay, it doesn't. We don't have to be in the bloodstream of the god, right?
Yeah.
Okay, doesn't the god need like a big ass table to sit at?
Fuck.
Does the god not have a material like life?
I don't think so. I don't think if gods existed like that. I think they're just like I think like the more advanced you become, like the more you just live within your mind.
Uh,
Like your entire like you don't need to interact with the material world um in order to stimulate your intelligence. Like your intelligence
mm.
is just
No,
um
but I'm talking about like the material god, given the premise that like Milky Way is like a blood cell or whatever.
okay, yeah, but well, like I guess under that interpretation, I don't really at that point it doesn't seem very plausible that we're just like a single cell within an actually like there's like an actual gigantic being with like stars flowing through his bloodstream like I don't think if a being existed that was comprised of like the cosmos,
Yeah.
I don't think it would exist in any way, shape, or form similar to how humans exist,
Hmm.
to the point that they would have the same concept for what a table is. You know, like that's not something that they concern themselves with.
Interesting. Cause I thought that because we're us and them are both confined to material reality, are we not?
Yeah, but like we're even more confined because we're confined to, uh, like we're confined to being such a small part of material reality and just having to process material reality with a very base form of like like we're barely better than like the animals around us, you
Hmm.
know, like we are operating interpreting the universe at a very base animalistic level,
Yeah.
and that's what we're constrained to, and that's something like if you were like some cosmic power you wouldn't be constrained to
Well,
it.
they wouldn't be a cosmic power at that scale. They'd just be like a regular person, wouldn't they? Alongside their like super huge BF or whatever.
I
You know
mean,
what
yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah, but
say?
like yeah. Yeah, but like if they were super huge and they were comprised of the cosmos, it means they operate under different sets of like physics, I feel
Really?
like they're like when you talk about the universe in totality,
Hmm.
the physics of of day to day, uh not day to day, because like the concept of a day doesn't even exist within the whole universe, right?
Yeah,
Like that's kind of crazy, right? Like there are no days in
yeah.
the universe, and like we're just setting we're setting the prime meridian of the entire universe for us is just Earth. Like when it's
Yeah.
day on Earth, we just say
This
it's
day.
another day in the universe. You know, it's like to what under what like it's the same thing, right? Like they wouldn't have the concept of the day or whatever like that. Like they wouldn't have that limited understanding because they're like so large that they're like one with the universe. They wouldn't be like concerned with microscopic things, right? Like
Yeah.
they would be operating on a macroscopic scale where every action they take would have a meaningful influence on the universe and like entropy
Hmm.
and like the functioning of the universe.
Huh. So they could influence the laws of physics?
I mean, if not influence the laws of physics, they'd be able to just by their sheer size and being comprised of the cosmos, they'd be able to manipulate the universe much more on a much macroscopic level than us
Yeah.
fucking like tiny microscopic specks of sand.
I mean, but like relatively speaking, they're microscopic to like other beings potentially as well.
I mean, yeah, like they're also eluded by larger beings, but I'm
Yeah.
saying we are so eluded to that larger being because we concern ourselves with things that are so completely microscopic and infinitesimally insignificant to it. just
Hmm.
based off of how large it is, right? Like literally everything that we do is meaningless to this proposed intelligence.
Yeah.
Like you don't fucking care if your fucking cells are doing like mitosis right
Exactly,
now, or
exactly.
like sending RNA strands to each other or shit like
I
that.
don't know why, but I feel like those mega gods would just be like normal ass people, like living their normal lives, and the level above them would be the same thing as well. But I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like my intuition tells me that like there's some form of like purpose that is gained through that power. Maybe that's just like
Uh,
me thinking as like a human. It's like, oh, I'm so insignificant. So if I was more significant, maybe I'd be able to perceive the larger secrets of the universe.
but
But
they wouldn't either. They wouldn't
yeah,
either.
I don't know. But under my intuition, it's like you must gain some perspective from all that power.
But that's
You know?
crazy to think about. If that's true, that means consciousness is like a recursive thing, kind of, because there's consciousness nested within like consciousness.
But that's assuming your cells are conscious, right?
Yeah, that's assuming your cells are conscious.
And then from the cell, it goes down to
To
like
like the Planck
the
length.
it goes down to the organelles.
Yeah,
Like, or the like, is the mitochondria sentient? And then it goes down to like the fucking hydrocarbons, the
yeah.
proteins, the macromolecules that comprise the entire thing. Is like,
Or like I
when
think
do you
one
stop?
interpretation of it is like the surface of an atom has roughness, right?
Yeah,
So you zoom in and in on that roughness, and then
yeah.
it could just be
It's,
like another universe of
it's
its
like an
own.
entire universe.
Yeah, because
That's like some. We're approaching some Ant-Man shit right now,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah.
Like that's like going into the quantum realm.
That's like one of the tenets of Buddhism too. Is like everything is nothing. I think is that what it was, and Ant Man with the quantum physics thing is like, oh yeah, the Planck length is like its own universe or whatever, something
Was
like
that
that.
within Ant-Man? I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention when I watched Ant-Man.
Yeah, he said something like that. It's like the quantum realm itself
Oh
has
yeah. Also,
roughness so that there
also, dude,
is details.
that's cool that they included that. But just a mild tangent, dude. Ant-Man is such bullshit with its science, dude. Like, stop, don't try to like. I'm fine with you being inconsistent with it for like the theatricality of it because intuitively it makes sense. Like we
Yeah,
intuitively understand whether or not in a scene whether or not Ant-Man is going to be light or super heavy,
yeah,
just based off of our like just based off of our intuition of like, oh, like it's a superhero that shrinks down.
yeah.
So like this is like what happens when you shrink. You upscale or descale in size. But like, so why are you trying to like explain the or at least say at least try to marry it to like some like scientific mumbo jumbo instead of trying to like like putting it behind a theory that has the holes so easily poked in it. It's like, oh, it like it just makes it. It doesn't make it. They basically say it doesn't make it larger or smaller. It makes it denser or less dense, right, or
Yeah,
more
yeah.
voluminous, right. So it's like, dude, when he becomes giant man, he's just float in the air. He just at that point he's just lighter than the air around
Yeah,
him, and
yeah.
he just floats into the atmosphere.
That's true. I never took that into consideration.
And then and then and then during like the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym had a keychain with the tank on it.
Yeah.
That should just be the fucking weight of a tank. like like the keychain, if you're just
That's
compressing the
true.
space between the atoms, it should just be the weight of a tank. But like as obviously as viewers, we intuitively understand it's like, oh yeah, it's like he's smaller, so you
He's
know, like he's
lighter.
lighter versus if he's larger, he's stronger,
Yeah.
right? That makes sense. But like I'm fine with it not making sense
Hmm.
as long as you don't try to make sense of it. They tried to make sense of it with their like stupid pin particle explanation, or at least try to make it like bring in some like physicist to make it to make it like some super cryptic science mumbo jumbo that like just makes it seem like it's magic, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like then I would give it a pass. But like as it is right now, like bruh, there's so many holes. Like I'm fine with it, but like I'm still kind of bothered by the fact that no, like every single screenwriter in Marvel thought that this was fine, bruh. Like nobody had any objections to like the way that Ant-Man was explained.
And science is like usually bastardized by cinema, bruh. Oh, I'm kidding.
Why'd you say it like that?
I don't know, because it sounded like something like a
Pseudo intellectual or something.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I didn't say that. Okay, let's just
It
move
sounds
on.
hot. It sounds haughty.
Haughty. Are you a
I
haughty?
guess. Yeah, sure. Sure. That's the second question.
Damn.
Are
we
you
never
haughty?
talk about anything casual on this. It's pretty funny.
I mean, it's we talked about CS:GO and we talked about
Yeah.
Minecraft and stuff. You know.
So,
All right. Well, it's been a good talk. We went from autonomy to where did we go? Let's try to catch this train of thought.
huge ass gods
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
end. At
And
the end.
in between, we started talking about AI, how our language will be viewed in history, whether or not it be
Yeah.
derogative toward androids, android
Yo,
rights,
Android liberation. Let's go.
android liberation. Um, that'd be a cool T-shirt. You know, it's like a T-shirt where it's like a thing. It's like
Yeah.
android liberation. There's like a mechanical fist.
Yeah, that's what I've been on recently because Detroit Become Human. But yeah.
Have you been playing Detroit Become Human?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. He's taking a break from the Yakuza games.
Yeah, for real.
All right. So we talked about a whole fuck ton of shit.
Autonomy, AI,
Free will.
free will, um, mostly metaphysics and philosophical. Oh, we talked about consciousness, the conscious unconscious dichotomy, and then reflexes.
Yeah,
And,
like how your conscious mind interfaces with your subconscious mind.
yeah, and then I don't know how it went from there to like huge gods.
I think it was just like a random tangent, to be perfectly honest.
Maybe, yeah. Huh.
No, I think we started talking about like huge gods, and then I started talking about Horton Hears a Who.
Yeah.
But we did, I think, on like re-listen, we'll be able to catch our thoughts better. But it's been a good podcast. I
Yep.
think we very sufficiently,
That was
you
longer
know.
than I thought.
I mean, yeah, but I don't think there was too much fluff other than that.
Yeah. It
Like,
was good. It was good. I liked
yeah.
it.
All right. So, you know, all y'all listeners, loyal listeners, stay tuned for next episode, where it'll
Yeah.
either be another interim episode or we will be talking with,
A guest, hopefully.
a guest, which in the form of, we expect, PJ and Renbeer.
Yeah.
But do not quote us on that. Until the next time, Skyway out. I don't know. We don't have an
Skyway
outro.
out. Wait, that's kind of sick. Should it be Skyway out?
Okay, sure. Until next time. Wait, say it with me. Okay.
Yeah.
Until next time,
Skyway
Skyway
out.
out. That's corny as fuck.
Wait, maybe
bro.
it shouldn't be synchronized, bruh.
Bruh, wait.
No, we should do.
I'll say Skyway and you'll say ow. Until next time, Skyway.
We just alternate saying it.
Until.
No, I meant like from episode to episode, bro.
Wait, no, we should popcorn it. Until
Next,
time
Skyway.
out.
Yo, wait, I fuck with that. It's so
That's
dumb.
so stupid.
It's so dumb. Oh my